evening, everybody. Can everybody hear me in the back? I'll wait till people start working their way back. So can anybody tell me what website we go to for emergency information? Great, vcemergency.com. I just want to make sure everybody has that in their head and remembers that, because a lot of the information that Patrick puts up for information for sheltering, which is what I'm going to be speaking to, is on vcemergency.com. So again, my name is Daniel McGuire. I'm in charge of the Human Services Agency Mass Care and Sheltering team. So what that is my team is tasked with coordinating and providing oversight for any sort of sheltering needs due to an evacuation order. Not a warning, but an order, remember that. So if there's an evacuation order issued by Patrick in the Office of Emergency Services, we generally will open up an evacuation shelter or a TEP, which is a temporary evacuation point. Okay, it is very, very key that you pay attention to VC emergency. Why is that? Because the team at Office of Emergency Services, they will actually put down which location you need to go to. So if you go on VC Emergency right now, there's actually 7 pre-identified sites on that website that say TEP on there. Okay, those are our general go-to sites that we go to. What you'll notice is there's not a site actually in Piru. Why is that? There's not a facility in Piru that's large enough to hold the amount of people that we need to be able to shelter. So unfortunately with Piru residents, we have to push people either towards Fillmore or towards Ventura to the college, just because there's not a facility here in the community that can support the evacuation efforts. I mean, how many people are in here right now? Maybe 40? And we're sitting down. How many cots do you think we can fit in here? Maybe 10? Maybe 20? And how many residents are in Piru? About 2,500? So we need a large facility in order to house people if they've been displaced due to an evacuation order. So with the community of Piru, we have to push people either to Fillmore, or if we need a larger shelter, we push everybody out towards Ventura. Yes, ma'am.
What if the roads are not accessible towards Fillmore? Is there something like, for Santa Clarita?
So we'll work with the American Red Cross, and they'll talk about that next. So we've gone through, as far as VC Emergency, what the Human Services Mass Care and Shelter team is. So just for information, we're a team of 4 to manage evacuations for the entire county as far as opening up shelters. But we rely heavily on volunteer partners. So we work with the American Red Cross very closely. We actually have an agreement with the Ventura County Fire Department. They're volunteers. They support us and help us open up shelters. We also work with the Salvation Army, Food Share. We work with Team Rubicon. There's a lot of different community partners that assist our small team in opening up shelters very, very rapidly. With that though, Office of Emergency Services has really, really leaned in and provided our team, my team, the equipment to open up shelters. We are one of the I think one of 2 counties in the entire state that actually has a team dedicated to just sheltering and has equipment pre-staged throughout the entire county to support opening up shelters very, very rapidly. So we actually have 5 large trailers pre-positioned with enough equipment to open up a 100-person evacuation shelter in 5 different locations throughout the county. We also have an additional 3 Conex boxes that are already pre-put for an additional 100-person shelters. We're also working at another 3 Conex boxes to make sure we have supplies ready to go. That way, when that evacuation order is issued, my team can respond as quickly as possible to open up a shelter or open up a temporary evacuation point so we can actually get people into a different, safer spot. But please, if there's an evac order that has been issued and you don't see a place to go, still go. Go find a shopping center like the chief was talking about, go anywhere. Just know that we are working as fast as we possibly can to designate a facility and open up for people to actually go like a centralized location. But please do not let that stop you from evacuating from your homes. Please get out as quickly as possible, okay? But just know that is in the process. As soon as that order is issued, we are working as rapidly as possible. But again, it's a lot of coordination with a lot of different nonprofit organizations, and there's drive times, et cetera, that we need to kind of get kind of ironed out with that. Coming through here. So really, really important that you do pay attention to VC Emergency. Like I said earlier, those sites are designated on VC Emergency. Those are our general go-to. But a lot of times disasters will dictate that we need to call an audible and go somewhere else. So during the mountain fire that Patrick keeps mentioning, we had to call an audible. Why is that? Our favorite thing, PSPS. All of our general use shelters in Camarillo had no power. There was nothing there. So we actually had to call an audible, and we pivoted over to Padre Serra Parish. We needed to also make sure we updated the BC emergency map, which is updated almost immediately. So it is very, very imperative that you keep an eye on that and don't just write down like, okay, I know this is where I need to go in this community, because that might change. That might change in an instant. So it is very, very important that you keep up to date on what's on that website. Constantly reference that, okay? So that's about it. I'll take a few other questions after I hand it off to Red Cross, because they're going to kind of come in and kind of let you know what they do within the shelter and the services that they provide. So, Jim?
Hi, so my name is Kim. Diana and I are sort of the volunteer disaster program manager counterparts for the Red Cross, because we don't have one. But part of our job is to sort of manage this stuff, and whenever OES says we need a shelter or a temporary evacuation point or whatever, they work with Daniel calls us, we have a big meeting and with all the involved parties, and we figure it out. So wherever the county decides to open a temporary evacuation point, a TEP, they come in and say, Red Cross, can you provide some people to staff that TEP? That's just a place for people to go in their cars or whatever to have a safe place to stay. Red Cross will bring, we call it canteen, we bring snacks and water, maybe blankets, and you kind of stay in your car in that area awaiting further information. If the decision is made by the county to open a shelter, they determine the best place to open the shelter, and then they will go there and they'll usually ask the Red Cross, hey, now we're going to open a shelter here, can you staff? And now we get involved and we start sending out our blasts to our Red Cross volunteers to say, hey, who can staff a shelter? For us in the local area, we are able to staff a shelter for 3 days. That's our goal, for 3 full days. If we know it's going to be open a lot longer than that, that's when we start getting resources from outside our territory, our region, and national. We have fly people in all over the country. It just depends on how big the shelter, how long it's going to be open. So that's the first step. It's just all based on what the county tells us. As Daniel was alluding to, and to this lady's question about what if you can't get out to go the other way, recent example is for the Hughes fire, we just recently helped LA County by manning a shelter at Calvary Chapel next to Oaks Christian. Technically that is in LA County. That is not a shelter that we would normally go to ourselves because it's not in our county. But we kind of have, because it's right on the border, we kind of have a reciprocal agreement for there. Our Red Cross also, we have memorandums of understanding with over 50 different sheltering venues in the county, all over, that at any point in time we can contact them and say, hey, we need a shelter in your area, are you available? Sometimes they're not, like sometimes Ventura College is not open because they've got events going on and we have to go to Oxford College or somewhere else, but we have over 50 to choose from and find out the best place. And it all depends on where the fire is and the direction, all that kind of stuff. So we have lots of locations, and as Daniel said, there really isn't a facility big enough here in Piru to have a shelter with the capabilities we need to provide. So part of that is we need registration areas, so we handle registration, we register everybody. We welcome everybody, but we register them into our system so we know who's there. We have to have a dormitory area, it's like a private area, it's like a bedroom, if you will, with all the cots, and there's certain spacing requirements and things like that. We have to have a feeding area, we provide meals. Sometimes the county will provide the first meal or two, just depends on the time. Then usually we take over, and we also use Salvation Army provides usually our lunches and dinners type of stuff, and so we have a reciprocal relationship. One thing, people ask for donations, we say go give them to Salvation Army, because the Salvation Army turns around and feeds our shelter clients, so it's like a win-win for both of us. Other things we need to have, like other services we provide is health services. We have nurses on staff, we have counseling services, so we have counselors on staff, we have spiritual care services that we can provide. A lot of that's virtually, but could also be in the shelter as well. We allow pets, so we have to deal with pets, and what are we going to do with pets? Service animals, true service animals are allowed in the shelters, but we also have to have an area for just pets. where are they gonna go? So we work with the county animal shelter to get crates and things like that, and figure out where to set them up and stuff. What else? So we also have liability coverage, so if someone gets hurt in a shelter, we've got that coverage. So that's something else to think about. It's very important. So we're always looking for shelter workers. We just had a huge influx of like 60 new shelter workers, probably because of the recent fires that were so close to us. So now it's just getting everybody trained up, and hopefully they stay around for the next big disaster, which we hope doesn't happen anytime soon. One thing out in Piru, because you are kind of remote to the county, we do not have very many Red Cross volunteers out in this area to service your community. So in order to, so for example, if we have house fires, apartment fires, single family home fires, which could turn into larger disasters when there's wind events, that one home fire could turn into a big event, right? It takes us about probably 2 hours to get someone out here to work with the client, because we don't really have DAT responders here. So just would encourage you to think about it and to join the Red Cross and maybe become a disaster action team member, where then you can respond within 20 minutes, 30 minutes in your own community, versus us having to pull from wherever else to get out here. It's just something to think about that I would encourage. The other thing we have going on right now is fairly new, is we have a wildfire campaign going on, where we can set up appointments, 30-minute appointments with homeowners, and we go over a lot of things, like primarily defensible space, like was mentioned, like the 300-foot or whatever it is, how to secure your property from brush fires, because a lot of time it's the brush catching fire that's just been catching your home on fire. So if we can figure out how to limit that. We also go into, pre-evac checklists. We have go kits that we provide and things like that. So it's a fairly new program, but if you're interested in that and you're in a little more remote area in Piru that you might need that, contact Mike and the Red Cross and find out, and we'll get you on the schedule to come out and talk to you. Or we could even probably do it in this kind of setting as well. But we usually want to go at the home and look at the home and help you specifically in your home. So that's something else we are really trying to push right now, especially out here in this area in particular. But yeah, in the shelters we feed, we house, just give you a safe place to stay until you figure out what your next step is. And then we also have people, we bring people in to talk to you about, okay, what's your next step? What do you need to get either back home or somewhere else, long-term temporary, to get you out of the shelter, because nobody wants to lay on a hard cot amongst a bazillion other people for long-term. And so we have folks that come in and we talk to you one-on-one and try to help you with that, financially and with resources as well. So that is another big thing with shelters that we provide. So I don't know, that's just kind of a very, very top little overview in the time that I have, but do we want to wait for the next before we take questions?
Sure. Why don't we move? There's so much you all do so much to help with this area. There's an interesting overlap right there. So we definitely should. If you, Stephanie, you want to present now?
Sure.
And our very own Mike will both have this here.
Yeah, Mike and I are representing the Fire Safe Council. I have to time myself, otherwise I will just keep talking and talking. It's really cool seeing a lot of familiar faces. We were out here in October for a project. Juana, you're a rock star. Paul, it was really cool seeing you do traffic control during the Felicia fire. Really excited to be able to help out Piru, and Mike Lopez being on our board. He's a champion for you all. He's just awesome, and Ken as well. So I think what I'll talk about today, and normally I like to go over the wildfire risk. We heard a lot about that from Chief Fong, and he said it way better than I could. So at this point, I'm not gonna just continue emphasizing that point more, but I will say that we all have a part to play now. Things are changing, whether it's climate change, whether it's oversuppression, whatever it is, the fires are getting worse. And at this stage, everyone has a role. And our role as a small little nonprofit that's allowed to dress casually to events is to help educate you on preparedness. We are focused solely on preparedness and wildfire safety. We don't do response, but we are here to help with anything about wildfire safety and preparedness. And what that looks like right now is that we try to apply for grants on your behalf, essentially. We did a focus group about 3 years ago in Piru, and one of the biggest things we heard, we talk about structural hardening, we talk about defensible space. We heard from you all that we need help, right? Piru needs help. They need extra help to get this work done, and that's where we come in. As an example, October, if any of you remember, we were out there doing free defensible space for properties, anyone who signed up. There was free pizza, maybe that rings a bell, free plants. And we're gonna do it again. We offer free chipping events. We're gonna bring that, we're committing that every year to Piru as well. And more of these projects that we just continue to try and apply for. We finished the environmental compliance for a large fuels treatment project along Park Street that we'll be doing Q1, Q2 of this year to try and remove some of that flammable hazardous vegetation. So things like that we're just gonna keep applying for, and we're pretty committed to Piru. We cover all of Ventura County, but we know that you all need help. And you're in a very wildfire vulnerable area. And so we see it as our responsibility to do more and to continue applying for grants. I won't overpromise anything, but there's limited funding to get home retrofits. We're really desperately trying to seek more money. We have something lined up, hopefully, and you'll hear more about that soon. And we like to ideally use Piru as kind of a pilot project for that. So stay tuned for that. Again, don't want to overpromise, but that will be coming at some point. Something else that I think Patrick mentioned when he was talking about how VCFD has more money than them. Well, they have a lot more money than we do. We're small, we're a nonprofit, but we are going to keep applying for grants. Whether it's, if federal funding runs out, we'll get state funding, we'll do what it takes. So some of the other services we offer, there are tons of materials back at that table. Please don't be shy, take whatever you need, English and Spanish. This is a little brochure of ours that goes over some of our programs. I won't go over all of them in detail. Mike is going to talk a little bit about the Firewise USA program, which Piru is a Firewise USA site, if any of you don't know that, and he'll talk a little bit more about that, what that means. I did say that you all have a part to play in this. Living near the wild and urban interface, I have one call to action for all of you, and there's a flyer back there. And we offer free home assessment. It's very similar to what we're talking about over here. We'll send out an assessor who will walk around your property 30 minutes to an hour, make an individualized report that you can access online, go through all the steps. We geotag all the little things that we're talking about, so you get a little map that shows you exactly what we're mentioning when we walk around, so you don't have to remember 30 minutes of talk from us. You can pull that up, reflect on it, and do what you can. We know that some of these recommendations are difficult. Some people don't have the means, the time, the effort, the energy. We try to help out with that, but there are some things that are low maintenance, that are easy, that make a significant difference. So your call to action, it's very easy. Pick one of these up, call us, or sign up online. You can just go online here, click the calendar, and click the available time that you want to be on there, and someone will be out there. And it's all no cost. Everything we offer is free and no cost. I had one last thing to say, but it's not coming to mind. So I think...
You got 4 minutes.
Yeah, I'm a quick talker, right? I'm gonna let Mike talk about the Firewise USA portion, and maybe it'll come to me.
Good evening, everybody. Like Steven said, I'm a board member with the Ventura Regional Fire Safe Council. But better yet, I'm a Piru resident here to help us out. I'm here to talk about the Firewise USA program. We are a certified Firewise USA community. So who likes discounts? We really haven't been getting too many discounts lately. So Steven printed out a lot of these. The insurance entity they're their own private entity, but some are willing, underwriters, agents, brokers are willing to give you a discount on your premium. Feel free to grab these in the back and take it to your agent broker, see if you're able to get a discount.
California Fair Plan is supposedly 10%. Now, you know, with all the fires recently, they may be scaling back on them, but that's what their stated percentage was. A lot of us are in California here.
So this is a neat honor that we're able to be Firewise USA. With that, it takes time, commitment, and volunteers. A lot of time, a lot of volunteer time. So I kind of have some talking points. Volunteer is my number one thing. If anybody needs hours or anything, your kids, if you want to get your kids off your gadgets, we might even show them how to use a chainsaw. No. But we'll, you know, we show them crew work, show them work ethic. So I'm willing to take volunteers to help with brushing, pool brush, all that good stuff. Kind of piggybacking off of what Chief Fong said, fires are dynamic. It takes us, there's not enough resources out there, especially with us being in a rural area. Let's start helping each other out. And us being an SRA area, like you mentioned, we're able to get more CAL FIRE grants, be able to do stuff, which Stephen and his crew they're doing the work for us. They're doing all the grants, and we're able to use that being an SRA area. And now that we're Firewise USA, we're able to take advantage of that and do work on the ground. But once again, it does take volunteers. So sign up.
And that's actually a commitment of how many volunteers, I mean, it's a couple hundred volunteer hours
Yeah,
at minimum.
definitely.
We have to
Definitely.
register per year. So we're gonna, you've heard, and that, what we could do with American Red Cross, and what we could do with you folks, what we can do with a clearing project I'm gonna talk about. We need volunteers. We're a small community. We do have to look out for ourselves. And it's actually sort of fun to get together and do these clearing events. You don't have to use a chainsaw for every chainsaw. You need almost 4 people dragging the brush. So we're gonna talk a little more about that, but those are some projects we'd love to have more of you jump in on.
But yeah, ultimately it takes volunteers, and more the merrier. I know people always want to step down, but and it's simple. Like tonight, the 2 hours here, this will count as hours for the Firewise USA curriculum. It's simple. I mean, you guys like beer and wine? We literally can go to Ken's Cafe and we can have Ventura County talk about, you know, today we're going to talk about weather, and we can get hours. So it's really that simple. It doesn't take much. But we do have to, we have a commitment to get these hours so CAL FIRE, when they renew our status, they're able to say, all right, Piru did their part and got their hours in.
I remember one.
Alcohol, okay, go ahead.
All right. I remember it. You'll have to forgive me in advance. Perdón, mi español es muy malo, pero si necesitan servicios en español, podemos ayudar. Tenemos personas que hablan español mejor de mí. Gracias.
Okay. Do we have any questions for this group? And I just want to start with, so with the need for American Red Cross, Betty Lou Wiseman has been taking the courses, so she's one person. Juanita, I understand, is also taking, there's sort of 2 levels too. There's people who are going to be at more of a logistics or helping level. There's also that need for people who can just come in and help serve meals, but they all have to go through background checks. So it's not just an instant come on in and help. There is a little effort there.
Yeah, we have we can't use event-based volunteers. That means you just kind of help as an event occurs. You just want to help with that event because maybe it's in your area. You do still have to register with the Red Cross because there is a slight little background check. Once you go through that, then you're cleared to help in the shelters. You know, just there's a lot of different tasks that need to be done in the shelters, and there's certain things you can do and certain things you cannot do. But we do still need helpers. The other thing I forgot to mention is we also have an alarm installation program that's free, alarm on demand. If your home does not have a fire alarm in every bedroom, sleeping area, contact 1-800-RED-CROSS or go online and look for the alarm on demand and sign up, and we will send a team out here to install those for free and just give you a little education package for yourself. It's free. Yes. Yep.
All right, other questions out here?
Alarm on demand program.
Alarm on demand.
So smoke detectors, we will sell them for free.
Okay.
As many as you need in your home.
We used to, and I thought we still did, use the school as an evacuation place for emergencies and such. And in the past, when we did have to use it, they used to the Red Cross would come and put up big tents and people would get under it, or whatever.
So I can't speak to as far as opening up tents, but if we have a large scale fire, especially what we've been seeing, if there's a fire in the hillside, there's a good chance that the majority of Piru is gonna be put under an evacuation warning or order. And so having the school, which I believe can only hold 35, maybe 40, with cots, it's not conducive for the amount of people that potentially could be evacuated or displaced out of Piru to go to the school, especially if the school most likely will be in the evacuations. Sir?
Not only that, that's a box canyon.
Yeah.
We evacuate to the school, we're trapped.
Yeah. So that's why
I don't
we.
even like them going to school when there's no electricity.
Yeah, so we've had numerous fires out here before, and reason being why we opened up the shelter at Ventura College, or we actually moved over to the Veterans Hall in Fillmore, is it's more conducive, it gets people out, but the fire is not the only hazard that you're being exposed to. There's heavy smoke, there's heavy particulates coming in there, and so trying to get people into a healthier environment is part of the plan as far as when we open up shelters.
So we still do have PSPS events, and right now, you know, that's not a fire, we don't have electricity, and we don't have anywhere to charge our phones, we don't have anywhere to cook a soup for a meal for our folks. So we are working, that is a place where this, and Andrea McGill's gonna talk a little bit about that. That's where making this and the school as PSPS events for power outages or maybe post fires, where we have some displaced folks, where we can incorporate them back in to the community, might be appropriate. But I get the point, and I get the point this gentleman made. Let's face it, and sometimes we just have to be honest about this. If a fire starts at Lizette's and there's 80-mile-an-hour winds, we're gonna lose Main Street. We're gonna potentially lose Center Street. That fire is gonna go raging towards the school. The school will not be a safe place. And we don't know that when the fire starts up near Lizette's. So you don't want to go to the school in that case. So we've got different types of events. Tonight we're really talking about potentially those big events. And even, Patrick, you made a point, even going to Fillmore may not be. And I've seen it when I was in search and rescue. I've seen those fires, they just move so fast that Fillmore could be another hour away from having to be evacuated. So you'd want to go all the way to a community college. So we got to think worst case scenario, and then we can think of some really wonderful other smaller events that we can stay here in the community, and we can have people offer up rooms in their house. And we'll still need, though, attention, people helping cook meals and bring resources and clothing for perhaps 10 families misplaced. So there are those two different types of scenarios.
Can I just also touch on the PSPS thing and just the importance of VC Emergency and what the Department or the Office of Emergency Services does as far as information. When they're discussing a place to go to charge your phones, Patrick is in line with Southern California Edison, and they post the locations of the CRC sites, or the Community Resiliency Centers. Those are on the website. They post them as soon as they get that information. They're on the website. They have a green icon that kind of looks like a little house, and they have the addresses on them. So just make sure you look at that website, VC Emergency. They provide the different locations where SCE opens up those facilities, the Client Resiliency or Customer Resiliency Centers. So make sure you stay up to date because that information is on the website as well.
And Edison is going to be at our next meeting, but there are no resiliency locations in Piru.
We'll
And that
leave
is
the
a
tomatoes
huge
at home
concern.
for the Edison meeting. Leave the tomatoes at home for the Edison meeting.
Yeah. But we are trying to develop a minimum of 1 to 2 in Piru. That was the frustration last time, is we didn't have any in Piru. Yeah. So,
Any further questions?
I have a question. We're talking about fires, but on the first Friday of every month, we hear the fire whistle go off when the dam breaks, and we have so much time for everyone to evacuate or whatever. You know, I've listened to people and I hear, oh, you gotta go to high ground. I think people really need to be educated when that fire whistle goes off and it's a real dam breakage. What did they do? I don't know if that's you.
I was like, I can't speak to that. I'm gonna have to call an audible and hide behind the TV.
No, it's a great point. It's something that we have on our website as a hazard. So, ReadyVenturaCounty.gov. is a website that we have that's focused strictly on preparedness. So you can go to that website and find out all kinds of information. But as you mentioned, the dam is a hazard, albeit it's a really low hazard. If that dam breaks, the problem that caused it to break is far bigger than the dam breaking itself at that point. But to your point, in that emergency, the directions are to go to Piru School. That area is just outside of what is modeled as to be the inundation zone. Hopefully it's not during a fire, right?
Yeah, right.
And we have a
Although it's a dam breaking, so put it out.
Piru School is a place to go. We've got preset warnings in our notification system. We can set that siren off remotely. I can do it from my vehicle, but we can also evacuate the entire inundation zone all remotely as well. So if something were to happen, that would be the first thing to do. If you're here in Piru, you're not going to outrun it. Get to Piru School, get out of the way.
Our
Sir.
property is just on the other side of the wash. So do you know how far out the evacuation zone goes?
Just like on the other side of the wash next to Piru School.
So this is
So where?
Wash? Yeah. We're just.
That area, I believe, that there's so many factors that play into inundation zones and capacity of the lake, all those types of things. If it's, everything is released at once versus over time. Worst case scenario, the northernmost portion of the school, we're talking back to where the farm area is that area to collect, even a little bit farther than that. Anything farther south than that, I would be of concern, or would be of concern for me, but only in a max inundation scenario. So I would encourage you, go to readyventurecounty.gov and look at that. There's a map on there that will show the inundation zone all the way to the Oxnard Floods.
My concern is my mom's disabled, and it would be like, we have dogs and stuff, and getting her to leave the property in the event. I wouldn't want her to think it was safe because we're so close to the school.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Check out the website, look at the map. It's hard for me to say off the top of my head, so my brain's foggy.
I'm trying to wrap my head around 3,000 to 2,500, 3,000 people going up to school when this happens. That just seems insane to me. We live up there as well. And I'm just wondering if there can be a better plan or a specific plan. There's a big empty nursery field up there that's been packed down, and there's been a lot of parking there for school events. Are people supposed to, I'm sure the CERT team is gonna be directing traffic, hopefully, or maybe, but do people all go in and park in that field? It's just telling people to all go up to the school is just so vague, and I think that maybe something a little more specific should be figured out, because that just sounds crazy.
Yeah, we can work with United Water to come up with something better. I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be blunt.
Yeah.
It's a tough scenario.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of good answers. And given the inundation zone, and given your proximity to the point of inundation, or to the point of the water, there's not a lot of good answers for that. As much as I like to say, hey, I can create a new road for you, I can create a platform to stand on, it's a bad scenario. Thankfully, it is a very remote scenario. Early warning is key. Again, sign up for VC for VC Alert. Stay in tune. Understand that siren alerts from that system outside of the first Friday of the month is an alert. That's really about all we can do. I do agree with the fact that if the nursery property, sometimes the gate is locked up there and it's not accessible. If there was an opportunity to be able to get into there and create some more capacity, that is an option. That's something we can look into potentially, coordinating with them a little bit on. But shy of that, there's no magic answer. Everyone's going to crowd. It's going to be hell. It's going to not be fun. So.
I don't know how many people in this room have read the book St. Francis Dam Disaster, but my understanding is that because Piru is an earthen dam, it's not concrete anchored to the sides, the likelihood of a total failure of Piru Dam is not very great.
It's here over the next 3 to 5 years where it's gonna be empty. It's gonna literally be empty while they do the work on the dam.
You're exactly right. So most of the failures that occur are slow failures that occur over time, and they start to get bigger and bigger. Again, if something causes that dam to fail all at once, what caused that dam to fail is the problem.
And it's gonna be a problem for everybody to get in and get out there.
Well, to that point,
We're still
the owner
Palisades
brought to the dam, and he said it was fine, and he's ended out a lot. 5, but no one else did. Yeah. So he connected the dam and said it's fine.
Regarding the sirens, we had a lot of people asking, like, why couldn't they sound the siren with the fire incident? And the siren is for the dam only, correct? Because there's the confusion as to why will they sound the siren? And we were trying to tell people it's specifically for the dam, but people were, can we use that, for that, but.
Yeah, I mean, the sirens are great for things massive like the dam, but the last thing, I mentioned this earlier, the last thing we want to do is evacuate people that don't need to evacuate, and those sirens are audible for a long distance. Spoiler alert, I don't even know if the Piru Neighborhood Council knows this, we're working on a joint project right now with United Water to replace those sirens and add some farther up Piru Canyon. Those sirens will be capable of delivering voice messages with actual information, instructions, as opposed to just a generic siren. So it's a big, expensive project, but it's gonna work. Kudos to United Water for doing that. They're the ones funding it, and it's very expensive, but they want to make that system better and more effective. So they're working on getting better technology.
We still have a drought way back when, as a community. And they picked the day and time or whatever, and at that time, everybody had to go to the school to see what could be organized, or, what needed to be fixed, or what you think they should do, something like that.
I think that would be great. I'd be supportive of it. It's gonna take a little army to plan, but I think that's a great opportunity. I really do, and I would encourage, the team to work together. We're happy to be a part of that. Again, my team's 8, so I'd love to say we're gonna come in and plan it and run it. We'll be a part of it and help as much as we can, but I think it's a great idea.
I just wanted to say that we did that drill back in 1999, when the siren first went in. And we offered hot dogs at the school to make people go up there. So people did go. And at that point, we were always told it was 15 minutes. I like people to still think it's just 15 minutes, because all of a sudden they're moving the time a little bit further. And so, in the future, once, like they're saying, they're emptying out the dam so that they can work on it, God gives us time to prepare to try to do the test. But yes, the dam, that siren should only be from the.
So hopefully today, and we're gonna move to the next group in just a minute, but hopefully today is creating a lot of questions that perhaps aren't gonna be answered here, but that you can forward to our Piru Neighborhood Council, and we can make sure over the next, there'll be 10 more meetings this year, that we try to incorporate folks to come back and answer, and we can even give specific questions so that we don't even have to wait, we can just address them. So unless there's any other questions, we're gonna get to our, one more question? Yes.
The only comment I have, and this is like a fairy tale wish, there's property rights involved, but it seems dangerous to me for the school not to have another exit. So one way into the school, and that's what my concern is, for them going to school on a day with no electricity. That's my concern. There's no exit.
I promised Manuel, I texted him and asked him about this. I was going to talk about it. Edison's hopefully going to be here next month. I'll just share this with you. I deal with Edison directly, multiple times a day. I'm the county's rep to interact with Edison. I'm beyond frustrated. We're working on several bills that will force their hand at not only thinking twice before they de-energize power, but when they ultimately do, and I'll be the first to say, I think it does prevent fires. We see it, so it has a time and place. The re-energization process is slow. They have to do a better job. They need to use technology. So we're pushing hard on them to try to make improvements there for that exact reason. I feel for you guys. I know you guys were without power for a long time. It's ridiculous.
And the re-energization, I don't think it's
And that's why we didn't actually have them at today's meeting, because we know that the county is hearing us and themselves observing this and is dealing with it.
I'm not going to get a Christmas card from them.
We don't want them to come and make a sales pitch. We want them to come and make a pitch of these are the action things we're doing, right?
And you're going to hear all the wonderful things they've done, but you've experienced this. So I will leave you with this. Speak up.
Yeah.
Let your elected officials know. I can tell you Supervisor Long's very active in this. The board unanimously supported several bills that we've written and provided to senators to try to affect change. This pisses me off. It just frustrates me to no end, so we're doing
Back
everything.
east, there's something called a Generac. It's everyone has these emergency, I think they're natural gas generators.
Yep.
Generators.
I'm putting one in at the end.
And so I think that, to me, that's the solution probably for a lot of us. And, but I don't know.
I agree, they're taking your funding. That's true. I mean, it's very expensive. You know, the 7,200 units end up being about 11,000, 12,000 by the time you get them all wired and
I'd like to see the
placed.
community do.
And
a
maybe
solar
5 months to
project.
get the permit.
Just real quick, if you go to Piru School, and I know it is a dead end down there, but someday take a walk. You can get out of there.
Yeah,
You're not
straight
gonna
down.
drive your car, but you go down that Real wash, and it'll get you to 126.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
that's
Now,
pretty direct.
children will enjoy going for a walk. Parents, and you might have to go around the fence, you might have to knock down the fence, but you can get out of there.
That's right, that's a good point, Mike.
Several.
Okay, are we ready to, thank you very much for your presentation. Hopefully you inspired